So in our last class, we were discussing the concept of enumerations. So enumerations are the programming feature that is provided by JDK5 onwards, where a named list of constants can be declared. So enumerations are similar to final variables, which means once declared, their values cannot be changed. So enum in Java is a data type. So implicitly enumerations are public, static and final members. So just like the primitive variables, so enumeration variables can also be defined. So an example of enumeration would be the days. So you can look at this particular example. So enumerator day. So this particular day is a enumerator which contains the 7 constants values, that is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday. So the need of enumeration is to avoid giving the values to variables. For example, normally what we would do is in a programming language, if we want a scenario to represent the days in a week, so what we would do is we would assign the values. Maybe Sunday we call it as 0, for Monday we will assign it as 1, for Tuesday 2 and so on. So whenever we are assigning a value to a day, so day 1 if we want to declare, we'll assign it to some value, that is 5. So when we encounter the value 5, it indicates it is Friday. So which means when we start with 0 for Sunday, then Friday would be 5. So it is the programmer's responsibility to compare the value that is present over here and then arrive at a conclusion that it is a Friday. Or another way would be to declare this particular a day as a string with this particular value. So the two ways we would have accomplished it. Either we would declare it as an integer with value 5, or we would have declared it as a string. But the problem with these two approaches is, if we have a integer value like this, then manually we have to convert it. Suppose in some of the reports we want to print the output where it includes Friday, the April 24. Of course it is Saturday. So Friday, April 24. In some of the report we want the output like this. Then this Friday conversion should be done by the programmer, which means the programmer is responsible for mapping the value 5 to Friday. So that is one way. So what if the numbering of this particular sequence changes? If we want to start with Monday and Sunday will appear at the end, then all our numbering format will get changed. Again, it is a tedious task. So in order to overcome this drawback, we need an alternate approach. So another approach is a string. So day 1 is equal to Monday. The problem with this string approach is we cannot compare the days. So which will come in the beginning, whether it is a Monday first or Tuesday. So let us consider a scenario where we are printing your timetables. So when we are printing the timetable, so it is Monday first, then Tuesday, followed by Wednesday. So the order is important here. When we declare them as a string, it is not possible to determine the order, because when we treat them as a string, the order depends on the alphabet values. So that is the ASCII value. So or they will be in order A to Z. So that ordering is not possible. The ordering is possible if we declare them as integers, but integer poses another difficulty. So in order to overcome these, we need a mechanism where both the problems of declaring this as an integer as well as a string can be overcome. So such facility in Java or in higher programming languages, it is through enumerators. So enumerators will declare a named constants, so where each one of them is actually a object and their values are fixed, which means they are of type final and they are static. So this is the feature. Now if you want to declare any day as Monday, then simply declare a variable of type enumerator. So this is the, now enumerator is a data type, so we will declare a variable like this. So day would appear, then the name of the variable is day, then we are assigning it to day dot Monday. So the enumerator followed by the dot operator, then one of the constant from the list. So that will appear over here. Now this particular variable day, when we print it, so it will get the value Monday. And the same can be used in a switch operator. So the same variable can control so enumerations can also take values. So one such example is over here where we want to assign the values. So here it is one of the examples. So a value 15 is assigned to this particular constant, 12 is assigned to this, 9 is assigned to Golden Duck and Jonathan with 10. So since these are objects, we can initialize them through constructors. So this is a call to constructor because it appears as a function and a value is passed over here. So this value can be assigned to a member variable. So and that member variable can be anything. So here this private int price is a member variable and this value gets assigned to this particular price. So here this is the constructor part where the value is passed as an integer and it gets assigned. So functions can be written on enumerators. So if we want to extract the value of this member variable, we can write a method that is int get price. So it returns the integer value and it is returning the price value of the invoked object. If we call this get price method on Golden Dell, then it will return 9. These values are fixed. This is 10, 9, 12, 15. Again, they are fixed, so they cannot be changed. So the function invoking can be done like this, where we declare a enumerator object like enumerator variable like this. So that is AP, small ap. So on this small ap, so we can call the methods. So here if we want to get the price of this particular category, then on the enumerator we can use the dot operator. So you can observe the two dot operators over here. So one follow after enumerator, then the object, then the function. So no need to use this particular AP also. Or we can also assign so AP to a value like this. So apple dot, so this particular category of apple. Then we can print all the values using the method that is value. So in our last class we discussed this particular values method. So it returns an array. So that array will contain all the constants. Suppose in our previous example, if we call it on a day method, day dot, so this method is called on a enumerator type. So day dot values, then it will return an array, so that contains Sunday till Saturday. So the 7 constant values will be returned as a array. So this is useful when we want to iterate over all the values. So just like this example, we are iterating over all the categories of apple. So there are 4 categories of apple. So this particular loop will run for 4 times, and on each enumerator, so this is the iterator constant, we can print its value. So A will print the name, this will print the name, whereas this will print the price. So both the things can be printed for all the 4 categories of apples. So along with that, we also discussed the superclass for the enumerator. So all the enumerators will inherit from the superclass, that is enum. So enum happens to be the superclass of all the enumerators. So by default they all inherit from this particular class. So here 3 methods are present in this particular class. So the first one is ordinal. So this ordinal indicates the position. So the position of a particular constant in the list. So in our previous example, Sunday was in the beginning, right? So the ordinal position of this Sunday is 0. So and ordinal values always start with 0. So Sunday will be 0. For Monday we will have 1. So for similarly for Saturday it would be 6. So this ordinal value indicates the position of a constant. So we cannot change the ordinal value. So ordinal value of a constant can be changed only when the order is changed. Suppose if we write Monday in the beginning and Sunday if we push, then the ordinal value of Monday will become 0 and Sunday will become 1. So otherwise we cannot explicitly give the values for these constants. So then the question arises is, what is the need of this ordinal? What is its significance? So its significance is in comparing the values. So which day will come first? If we want to determine it, then we can use the ordinal value. So Monday will come first, then Tuesday. Then we need a mechanism to determine which one will come first, because many a times we need ordering in either in ascending order or descending order. Even in timetable it is the Monday that comes first, because there is no way to determine which one is in the beginning or which one will come first. because we cannot sort it, because string cannot be sorted. If gets sorted, then it will be based on the ASCII value. Similarly, if we are considering months, so sorting will happen based on January will be the first one. So we need a mechanism to determine this relative ordering of the constant values. So, and it is the ordinal that provides such a facility. Without ordinal, we cannot sort or determine which one is the beginning. So ordinal values are starts with 0 till the last element. Then another method that we have in this particular superclass is compare to. So, and this compare to is useful only when we are comparing the ordinal values. So compare to will compare the ordinal values of the constant. So we need a mechanism to compare two constants based on their ordinal value to determine which one will come in the beginning or which one will come later. So in that scenario, we can use this particular compare to. So ordinal value of a two constants of a same enumeration can be compared using compare to method. So its syntax will be like this. Since this is a method, so one of the object will be a invoking one, day one dot compare to, here we can pass another day. So remember, this is not the enumerator name we are writing the variable, because it is the variable that contains the different values, so ordinal can be different. So our compare to method works on this particular enumeration type variable. So now the comparison will happen and it will return an integer value. If they are same, it will return 0. If the day one comes before, then negative values. So negative value means if it is less than 0 means, so day one comes before day 2. Okay. So if it is equal to 0 means they are equal, then greater than 0 means, so day 1 comes after day 2. So here day 1 is important because it is on day 1 we are invoking the compare to method. So then equals method. So equal method will compare whether the two objects of type enumeration are the same or not. Now, if you observe here, there is a difference between the compare to function and the equals method. So in equals, we are comparing the enumerator objects, whereas in compare to, we are comparing the ordinal values. So there is a difference. So this particular equal to or equals is called on same thing. It will be day 1 dot equals of day 2, and here it is day 1 dot compare to day 2. So two methods are there and their working is completely different. With the meaning they seem same, but they are not. because in compare to, it is comparing the ordinal value, and in equal to, it is comparing the constant. It will verify whether both of them are Monday or not, whereas this one is comparing the ordinal values. Now we can also have a compare to method like this: day1 dot compare to, so apple 1. See here, there are two different enumerators. The invoking one is belong to a day type enumerator, whereas the passed one, this one, is of apple type. So they are completely different. So is it possible to pass two different, or to have a comparative method on different enumerators? And it is completely possible, because compare to compares the ordinal values. So ordinal value of day 1, then ordinal value of this apple 1 will be compared. So it doesn't matter those constants are same or not. So let us call this day 1, let us say this is Sunday, and this one is Jonathan. So Jonathan happens to be the first one in the apple category. So since Jonathan is first one, its ordinal value will be 0. On the other hand, if day 1 is Sunday, then its ordinal value is 0. And comparative method just compares the ordinal values irrespective of whether the enumerators belong to a same type or not. So it will return 0, because the ordinal value of both of them is 0. So comparative method can be used on two different enumerators, whereas equal to should be used on the same type of enumerators. Otherwise it will always return false. So that's why we have two different methods. One is compare to, another one is equals. So equals always compare whether if day 1 is Sunday, it will verify whether day 2 is also Sunday or it is some other day. So if it is Sunday, it will return true, otherwise it will return false. So this equals method returns either true or it will return false, whereas compare to will return three possible values, that is less than 0, 0 or greater than 0, and the value that depends on the difference in the ordinal values. So with this enumerators, so now let us move on to the type wrappers. So our wrapper classes. So in Java we have two categories of variables, either primitive types or object types, or primitive types we also call it as a basic data types. So basic data types involve the integer, character, byte, double, float. So all of them are primitive data types, but these higher level languages use objects for everything or classes for everything. So primitive data types are not part of object hierarchy, which means they do not inherit from any other object, or they do not allow any other object to inherit from them. So the concept of inheritance doesn't arise if we have a primitive type. And despite using the primitive types will give an advantage of the performance, which means operating on primitive data types will be faster compared to the object representation. If you want to store an integer, we can obviously define an object with a member variable integer, then we can store the value. So many of the standard data structures that are implemented and operated in Java will be on objects, which means these data structures do not store the primitive data types. So in order to convert a primitive data type into an object, or to extract the value from an object into a primitive type, we need a mechanism, and that is provided by the wrapper classes. So wrapper classes are nothing but the wrapping up of the primitive data types in the object. Suppose if we have a primitive integer value, so let us call it as n is equal to 5. So it is a primitive type. Now if we want to convert this n into an object, so we need a mechanism where n will be there having the value, and it should be within an object. So this wrapping of this primitive data type in an object, it is through wrapper classes. So Java provides certain wrapper classes in order to wrap or store the primitive data types as objects, and those wrappers include double, float, long, integer, short, byte, character, and boolean. So if you observe here, for each of the wrapper type, the first letter is capital. So if the first letter is capital in any inbuilt keyword, it indicates it is a class, because methods they will start with lowercase only, and the class names start with uppercase. So these are the wrapper classes, so that we can fully integrate the primitive data types into Java's object hierarchy. So look at the character wrapper. So character wrapper is used to wrap a character variable. So the constructor is through like this: character char of ch. So while declaring, so an example would be like this. So let us say it is a character c is equal to small a. So this is a. So a is a character and it is primitive type. Now if we want to wrap this, so we need to use the wrapper classes, that is wrapper class name, to hold the character is character. So we can declare, so character a is equal to, then again we can write constructor character, and this c variable we can pass over here, so that is c. So this character variable we can pass over here. Now what happens, this is wrapped in an object a, or we can give any name to this particular object. So let us give it as a1, character c1, so here c1. Or instead of passing this character, we can put the entire character in a single quote or double quote, so that will also wrap that particular character. So this is a mechanism in order to wrap a character, but we need a reverse way. Now suppose if we want to extract the character that is present in this particular variable a1, so in order to extract the value, the Java provides some built-in methods, so that is the char value. So it can be called like this on this particular a1. So a1 dot char value. So this will return the character that is present in this particular object a1. So, and that character is this one. So this will be returned. So we can store it in a character or directly print it. So this is the use of wrapper classes, and this is a wrapper class, and this wrapper class only wraps the character data type. It doesn't operate on any other data type, and the method that is used to extract is this char value. So for wrapping, we'll use the constructor. For unwrapping or unfolding, we'll use the function that is char value. So similarly, for all other primitive data types, so this facility of wrapping is present. So there are two ways in order to wrap the Boolean value. So Boolean wrappers work like this. So the primitive bool value. So let us call the variable name as status. Status is equal to true. Okay. So this is a Boolean value. Now if we want to wrap it, then we have to use the wrapper class, that is the Boolean b is equal to Boolean of this particular variable will now appear over here like this. Now this particular Boolean is getting wrapped. So this particular Boolean wrapper class takes two parameters, two constructors are there, one that takes the Boolean value, another that takes the string. Boolean value means we can directly pass true. String means the same thing is present in a single code. That's it. So the version of Boolean value is either true or false. So the second version, that is a string version, either can be a true in uppercase, lowercase, or mixed. So similarly, we have a integer wrapper class. So integer wrapper class are used to wrap the integer value. Suppose a primitive integer value will be like this: int I is equal to 5. The same thing can be wrapped using the wrapper class integer. So integer, let us give the name capital I is equal to integer of small I. Remember, instead of this variable, we can also pass the value 5. Both will work. So this is the one way of wrapping. In order to unwrap, so we have to use the method that is int value. For all the primitive data types, so there is a wrapper, and all the wrappers are same. Either it is char value, int value, or Boolean value, or float value, or byte value, long value, short value, like that. So everything is similar. Now this particular program, so if you observe, the integer value 100 is wrapped in the object IOB. If you want to extract the value that is present in this particular integer, then we can use the method that is on IOB, that is int value. If you print it, so it will print 100. And remember, here we have to use the new keyword. So since it is an object, we have to use the new keyword. So while wrapping, that keyword is mandatory. Not just for integer, for all other previously discussed, either it is character or Boolean, that new keyword should be written. Now, the process of extracting the value from a wrapper, type wrapper, it is called as unboxing. So the process of wrapping is called as boxing. So this is boxing. We are converting a primitive into object. If we use this one, reverse mechanism, int n is equal to I dot int value. So then this one, So the reverse mechanism of extracting the integer value, so that we call it as unboxing. So boxing and unboxing, these are the two keywords. So based on the mechanisms of boxing and unboxing, so we have the concept that is auto boxing and auto unboxing, and we have certain methods also, and the programming facility which automatically boxes and unboxes the values and objects. So that facility is also there in the Java programming language. So we shall stop the discussion here for today's class. So in our next class, we will discuss the concepts of boxing and unboxing. So you can put your attendance in the chat window and exit.